even in the American political spectrum where you have very extremely right-wing or left-wing governments, there comes a point where moderation is required, and moderation comes. And with the NFL, because your talent pool is so little, and you can't find talented players every single time, whereas in our political system, there's always a senator, there always is a congressman, because there are 500 of them and only one position to take, that are ready or that are willing to become the president. So you see a lot of rinse and repeat, or ability to replace, compared to the NFL, and that's where the issue lies in Seattle, because you're either getting rid of a really good head coach, or you're getting rid of very, very talented football players that may still be in their prime, or you may be forced to do both. And that's where you see the issue of deviation of culture. That's where culture has to be maintained. Okay? In politics, in government, in society, in sports. It has to be maintained in order for there to be consistency, in order for there to be structure, and in order for things to run smoothly. The culture has to be consistent. Employees can't define culture, CEOs have to. Regimes have to define culture. Okay? Players can't. And Seattle is feeling the brunt of that now that they're not winning. Okay, so a little bit about my political views, right? So, here is what I believe. What I believe is that when you look at tax reform, when you look at regulation reform, I've already talked about this, and we're seeing this with President Trump and his plan. It will work some of the times, those types of plans, especially when it's like right after business growth has been terrible. But in order for there to be lasting success to conservative plans, you need to make it incentive-based so that the majority of people, as well as the minority, also benefit, whereas it's not an either-or. And they may sound like a regulation. For example, like I gave the idea of, hey, cut regulations. I would cut regulations by 75%. I would do that. But I would say, of that 75% that I cut, you have to give 50% of that cut to your employees. The other 50%, I don't care what you do with that. You can do whatever with that, but 50% you have to give to your employees. You have to. You have to be able to, say, hey, look, businesses, you'll get a gain out of this, but we also need the middle class to get a gain out of this. And I have a feeling it will work. It will work because the companies want to appease Trump. Otherwise, Trump will blast them, put them on blast on Twitter, Instagram. Social media plays a major key in this. His meetings with top businessmen, he's done this a lot since his presidency, which has been very unheard of. And that's going to play a role, especially his relationship with some of these people. The lack of growth in companies is going to play a major role in this, because in order for there to be growth and lasting profits, people need to be productive, and in order to incentivize that, you have to pay them more, you have to create new positions, you have to hire more. So, I think it will work well, but it won't have lasting effects. For example, I think this won't work well after Trump leaves, because it will be like the George Bush deal, where Reagan had everything go from, oh, we're really heavily taxed, to, well, oh, we're investing in stuff now, but once those investments are made, are you going to continue to do so, or is this just not going to last because you've already made your money and the investment side doesn't really apply to you anymore? That's going to be very interesting to see. I think politics is cyclical. I think history is cyclical. I think there will be major debt in the next regime. I think the next regime is going to be Republican. I think we're going to have a Republican president for the next 12 years. I really do think that. I think you're going to have a Democrat after that for 20 out of the next 25 years. Because I think all of this is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. We can advance from all of this, but human beings are human beings, and this is where we're at. Where we're not fighting for freedom, where we're not fighting for equality, where we're fighting for the best system to fit our needs, and where our needs, while they have evolved, are mostly the same from the 70s and the 80s. I think there's going to be a pattern on who gets the presidency, who gets the House, who gets the Senate, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to know. Now, I'll get into the social politics and the foreign policy later on as we progress throughout this podcast. But let's talk about the Iranian Revolution, right? So women are not willing to wear the hijabs anymore mandatorily. They're protesting the government. The government is running them down. I've seen brutal videos. It's terrible. We seriously gave these people $150 billion. It's more like 55, but seriously. We seriously gave these people $50 billion. We gave them access to nuclear reserves where they're going to use this for positive nuclear energy. All these people talk about climate change, yet they're not willing to take Iran's nuclear reserves and use those as positive stuff towards climate change, positive energy developments towards climate change. I don't get it. And this idea that Iran is not going to use these nuclear arsenals to go after America and make new weapons and stuff like that, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, okay, so you can make a good argument that the money, the $55 billion, could go towards the Iranian economy. Oh, it didn't at all. That's part of the reason why people are protesting. The well has run dry in Iran. It is ridiculously insane. Okay? That's who they are. Okay? And it's not going to change. It's not going to change. Okay? If this comes to nuclear arsenals or plutonium or whatever you're talking about. They've shown you what they are. History repeats itself. They've shown you what they are. Okay? They've shown you what they will be. So, it makes all the sense in the world to rip up this nuclear agreement because Iran, okay, is a theocracy that is not based on freedom, that isn't willing to help their citizens, and its primary motive is to strike fear in Israel and the rest of the free-seeking Western world. That's what it is. Okay? That's what Iran is. And I know this is a horrible way to segue, but this is actually, I think it's a decent analogy. Obviously, Iran is not Baker Mayfield. Disclaimer, I'm not saying Baker Mayfield is Iran. But I think you'll understand where I'm going with this sooner or later. Baker Mayfield is like Iran in the sense that they're showing you what they are. They're showing you what they're willing to do. They're showing you who they are. They've always shown you this, except, oh wait, you think there's bits of them, talent in Baker Mayfield, normalcy or a fake kind of normalcy in what really is a theocracy in Iran, that makes you believe that, hey, we can work with this to bring about a positive solution. Well, you can't. You never will. It never will work. Okay? And this is what Baker Mayfield is. Baker Mayfield is 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. Okay? He doesn't make throws. Alright? To guys, his arm strength, he's not a 70-yard passer. He's not that guy. Okay? He, when the coverage is tight, can't make those throws. If people are talking about how accurate he is on the deep ball, well, guess what? He's accurate because they play in the Big 12. I think that's quite obvious. I think he looks off safeties and corners and linebackers. He does that well. Okay? But at some point, looking off guys isn't going to help you, because that's not going to create open lanes for people. Because everybody's tightly covered in the NFL. That's how it works. Also, Baker Mayfield is an on-the-field distraction that is going to take a lot of people off, especially Ohio State players, because of the flag planting. And because of the partying and because of the money, the public intoxication issue, I think, may well become the demise of Baker Mayfield. And I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it becomes Russell Wilson. I hope I'm able to make plays out of the pocket. I'm cool, calm, collected. I'm able to make the reads. I have a strong arm. I'm athletic. I have the measurables. I'm able to develop those things. I just don't think so. Because what we saw with Russell Wilson was a poised player, right? And a player that is very improvisational. We saw a tough kid. And we saw athleticism. We saw strength. We saw mental toughness. We saw physical toughness. And we saw a great person off the field. This is why, okay, Baker Mayfield is not going to succeed in the NFL because he's going to get drafted too high to a team that he won't fit with, especially when he doesn't have the NFL quarterback measurables, when he hasn't done much against what you would consider, when he hasn't done much against top defenses in the sense of he doesn't make that tight throw, he doesn't make that anticipational throw. I think Baker Mayfield, he may become a good quarterback. I hope he does. I hope he becomes a great one. I love to see new talent in this league. But he's shown you what he is. Okay? He's shown you the good and the bad. He's shown you that he can't grow up from public intoxication instance. He hasn't done it again, but he's shown that character again. The flag planting, the crotch grabbing, the things like that just don't translate to an NFL field. And when you can't inject passion into something, everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, he can inject passion into one of these A-Wing franchises. No, these are grown men. He's got to inject confidence. Okay? 6 foot tall, throws to wide open guys, probably can't even see the line with how tall and physical these guys are going to be. Small, not well built, not that great of an arm. That's not confidence. 6'5", big, 230 pounds, rocket of an arm, has done this for 5 years. Or a Drew Brees who has a monster of an arm and has great leadership skills. That's going to inspire them because of confidence, not passion. Because these are grown men making money. And at the end of the day, you don't need passion. Okay? You need results. Results are going to drive confidence. Confidence is the major key for professionals, not passion. And I think that Baker Mayfield, he just isn't that guy. He has skills. I was very impressed with what he did against Georgia. But when you look back at it, how good really is Georgia? Are they really that good defensively? Missing so many tackles, wide open guys? I don't know. It didn't look like it. They played worse defense than a non-cohesive yet Ohio State defense that turned out to be one of the best in the country with multiple top players. And how this relates to Iran. Iran is a terrorist nation. They're not willing to help their people. They're run by radicals that don't have the interest of their own people in mind. And they've shown you this since 1980, and you still weren't willing to listen, and you put nuclear weapons on the line. Okay? If you put, if the Giants were to draft Baker Mayfield, you put your starting quarterback position, your most important position, in for a guy that doesn't have measurables, doesn't have the temperament, okay, and doesn't plain just have the skills. That's on you. He's shown you who he is. Iran has shown you who they are. The Obama administration, as well as whoever is drafting him, and I think he's going to go high, because of this media narrative. You gotta watch out, and in the long run, it's probably not going to pay dividends. So there you go.